Teaching is hard. It's trying to meet the needs of 20 plus students, all with different backgrounds, trying to plan engaging lessons, assess student learning. Yes, teaching is hard, and I'll be honest, at times I've made it harder. Maybe you have too. In this video, I'm going to share one thing you may be doing to make teaching harder, and I'll give you a helpful strategy to overcome it so you can teach with more ease, joy, and satisfaction. It's 1996. I'm still a fairly new teacher, and I've got this squirmy little kindergarten class. They have math after lunch, and it's always a struggle. So there I am, trying to teach a math lesson. I'm wearing my jumper dress with my hair in a scrunchie and my Keds tennis shoes. We really should bring that back. Not super stylish, but very comfortable. Anyway, in this lesson, we're using the math strategy making a 10. My students all have a tens frame and these colored cubes. And they're doing everything with the colored cubes except following my direction. And at some point, one of the colored cubes goes flying across the classroom. If you could hear my thoughts right then, this is what you would hear. I'll never get control of this class. Math lessons always go wrong. I'm a terrible teacher. My principal's going to think I'm incompetent. I'll probably lose my job. At that time, I didn't understand the power of my thoughts and how they could energize or deplete me. I didn't know how my thoughts would drive my emotions and my behavior. I didn't know that the way I was thinking about my teaching was making teaching harder. As teachers, our thoughts can amplify our stress, deplete our teacher batteries, and make our obstacles seem insurmountable. And self-defeating thoughts can keep us from taking action to improve a situation. The good news is there's an easy framework we can use to make our thoughts more helpful and empowering. It's called Catch, Check, Change. And here's how you use it. Start by taking a sheet of paper and making 3 columns. Catch, check, and change. When you're feeling stressed or agitated, pause, pay attention to what you're thinking, and dump all those thoughts into the catch column. Here's how it looks in my example. In the catch column, I wrote, I can never get through a math lesson. I'm a terrible teacher. The principal is going to think I'm incompetent. I'll probably lose my job. Look at your list in the catch column. See if you're experiencing something called cognitive distortions. These are negatively biased, irrational thoughts that can influence your emotions and behavior. These thoughts can wear you out. In other words, these distorted thoughts make things worse. Here are some examples and how you can spot them. The first cognitive distortion is all or nothing thinking. When we see things in black and white, all good or all bad, with no middle ground. For example, if I don't get this right, I'm a total failure. You can identify all or nothing thinking when you start to use words like always, never, or completely. The next is overgeneralization, making broad conclusions based on one thing or a single event. For example, I messed up this lesson. That means I'm a terrible teacher. You can identify overgeneralizations when you pay attention to sweeping statements based on just one experience. The next one is mental filtering. That's when we focus only on the negatives and we ignore any positives. My students didn't understand this concept, so the whole lesson was a disaster. Even when parts of the lesson went well. You can identify mental filtering when you find yourself overlooking all the positive aspects of a situation. Catastrophizing is expecting the worst case scenario. For example, if I make a mistake during this observation, I'll ruin my whole career. When you find yourself predicting the future, especially predicting a future you don't want, you're probably catastrophizing. We have no idea what the future holds. You might as well be a little more positive about it. The next cognitive distortion is mind reading, trying to guess what someone else is thinking. When your principal walks through and a student is acting out, and you assume my principal must think I'm incompetent or a bad teacher, That's mind reading. You have no idea what someone else is thinking. It's helpful not to try to even guess. Personalizing is blaming yourself for things beyond your control. For example, if a student's not completing work, personalizing would mean you assume you're a bad teacher. Or if a friend is upset, you assume that it must be something you did. We can't take responsibility for other people's emotions or behaviors, and we have to stop personalizing and thinking that we're to blame. Once you've captured all your thoughts in the catch column, it's time to check them. Don't believe everything you think, especially distorted thoughts. Check to see if those thoughts are true. Ask yourself if you have any evidence to the contrary. This is what my check column looked like. When I looked at the thought, I can never get through a math lesson, I checked it with, I can think of times when math lessons have gone well. The thought, I'm a terrible teacher, I checked with, my students are growing, so I must be competent. I checked the principal is going to think I'm incompetent with, my principal complimented me after my observation. I'll probably lose my job. I checked that with, there is no evidence my job is in jeopardy. For each thought in the catch column, you're going to jot down something in the check column that's based on truth and evidence. Finally, when you've checked your thoughts, you can change any unhelpful and untrue thoughts to more realistic, helpful, and empowering thoughts. Here's how my change column looks. I can try some new active learning strategies in Math Block. I'm still learning and growing. I'm doing fine and will keep getting better. My principal gives honest feedback. She tells me how I'm doing. And squirrely little people aren't grounds for being fired. I feel lighter just reading that change column. The catch column is heavy. It's defeating. It makes me feel like there's no point in even trying. But when I check that with what's real and true and helpful, I can choose a more empowering thought. I wish I could go back to 1996 and tell my newer teacher self, you're doing fine, but you're making it harder than it needs to be. Pay attention to your thoughts. Catch those unhelpful, self-sabotaging thoughts. Check them to see if they're even true, and then change them. We always have the power to choose more helpful, empowering thoughts. So when you're feeling stressed or frustrated, stop. Pause, take a breath, take a beat, pay attention to your thoughts. Are they helpful? Are they true? If not, choose more empowering, helpful thoughts. It will help you lessen your stress, feel more confident, and amplify your impact. Teaching is hard. The way we think about it can make it harder. Try the catch, check, change framework and let me know how it goes. And remember, you can always find more strategies to help you impact lives and still have a life on teacherrecharge.com. See you next week.